This video is brought to you by Paperlike. If you've ever wondered how you can make your iPad drawing feel like you're drawing on paper and not on a glass screen, then click that link down below and get your own Paperlike screen protector today. Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Paterson, and welcome to the designer's review or an artist's review of the new 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Apple have released the new iPad Pro and a lot of you guys love it. Some of you hate it because it hasn't got much of an upgrade in the technology inside, aside from it being more powerful. But today, I'm going to be showing you a designer's perspective of what the new iPad Pro does for people like me who design logos, hand lettering, or just do general illustration and drawing. So the first thing that is the major difference between the current iPad Pro and the old generation is that it is now basically bezel-less, or it's got a very thin bezel with no home button. Since we had the iPhone 10 come out, Apple have been trying to take away the home button and as many buttons away, so you're just left with a slate. Now, Apple have done a really good job with the new iPad because now it is literally just a slate of metal and glass. There's no home button, but to get around the iPad, you use touch gestures just like you do on the iPhone 10. And I know some of you guys are going to be freaking out a bit if you've tried it already, or if you're thinking about getting an iPad Pro, you'll be freaking out, but it's okay because you learn these gestures very quickly and it is a lot easier. And also getting rid of a home button means that you've got less chance of breaking that button from wear and tear over time. Speaking of getting rid of the home button, Apple actually shrink down the form factor of the 12.9-inch iPad and reduced its size tremendously, cutting the top and the bottom part, which means that you still get the 12.9-inch display that we all like, but with no home button and it's slightly smaller. Also, the iPad Pro is super light comparatively to a laptop. I'm going to talk a bit more about that in a second. Another one of the major differences that you guys may know of is that there is no lightning connector anymore. It's actually USB-C and it is powered through USB-C, and it's the only slot on the iPad. Now that I've told you a little bit about the iPad Pro, giving you some background, which you guys will probably all know, I'm going to talk to you a bit now about my job and how it's helped me, and I'm going to review it in that way. So the iPad Pro is literally Apple showing off. Apple make everything really good and powerful nowadays, but the iPad Pro is a new kind of beast, and everyone keeps saying the word beast in their reviews because that's exactly what it is. The amount of power inside of the iPad Pro means that you can do a lot of creative processes. Now, if you're like me and you do video editing, music production just for a hobby, and you do drawing, illustration, or wanting to use more powerful apps like Photoshop and Illustrator or Procreate or Affinity Designer, then you need a powerful chipset inside of the iPad. Now, the iPad Pro is actually faster than most laptops that are out there now, which I find very hard to sort of comprehend how Apple have managed to get so much power inside of such a thin slate of metal and glass. You can really see the performance of this when you're editing 4K video simultaneously on two multi-camera angles, which is pretty crazy stuff. 4K video on an iPad Pro using the Apple Pencil, which again I'll talk about later on, is pretty incredible. The apps that I use on the iPad Pro are basically Procreate, Vectornator, Affinity Designer, MindNode, which again I'll talk in another video, and a whole host of other creative apps that are on the App Store. Now obviously I'm not going to talk about the iPad Pro as in just the actual slate in itself. What really brings it to life for a designer or a creative person like myself in a design industry is the Apple Pencil capabilities. Now Apple have released a new Apple Pencil, which is the Apple Pencil 2. It looks very similar to the first one. In fact, it's smaller, it's got a more matte finish, and it's got a bit on it which is kind of flat on one side. Now this kind of looks confusing until you realize that Apple have fixed one of the biggest problems with the iPad Pro, which was that you used to have to plug in your Apple Pencil to the Lightning port. Well, instead of that now, the Apple Pencil slots on the side of the iPad and uses wireless charging to charge it. This means that I no longer have to fear breaking my iPad, and I don't have to fear picking up the pencil knowing that there's probably only like a few minutes of battery life in the Apple Pencil. It is constantly charging. It also means, because of the flat edge, that the Apple Pencil won't roll off the table as easily, and if you're going to put it down anywhere, it's probably going to be sat on the iPad with a little snap. The Apple Pencil 2 hasn't really changed much aside from the form factor and the design of it and the way that we store it, which, you know, in fact for me is a pretty big thing. I need it to be stored very well. Beforehand I had to have a case that I put my Apple Pencil in case I broke it, but now it just slots onto the iPad. It works generally just the same with all apps, but now because it's got more power and apps now can take advantage of that power and the amount of memory in there, you can do a lot more, and more apps are coming out that are taking use of this, such as Photoshop CC coming in January. Speaking of which, I'm going to be doing a video on Photoshop CC on the iPad Pro because I think it looks amazing. It's one of the main selling points. I remember them announcing it at Adobe Max and it looked amazing. I can't wait to see it on the iPad Pro coming very soon, but I also really want to sort of say, I want Illustrator on there. Illustrator is probably the biggest thing for my work. I like to draw paths for logo types. Now, the only downside to the iPad Pro when you're drawing on it, when it's sort of your job, is the fact that it doesn't feel like paper. It's a glass screen and you're using a plastic pencil that never runs out. So this means that it can slightly feel a bit weird. But if you're used to graphic tablets or anything like a Wacom Cintiq, then you shouldn't feel too much about it that's different. But if you're like me, that's come straight from paper and started doing drawing digitally with this, then I would suggest getting the Paperlike screen protector. Now, Paperlike are sponsoring this video because if you've ever wanted to get the paper experience or the Paperlike experience on the iPad Pro when drawing and you haven't been able to, well, it's because you need a rougher surface. So you put this matte screen protector on and you can hardly tell it's there. It protects the screen and also makes it feel like paper. You can even hear it. The main question you guys ask me is, where do you get the screen protector from? Well, I'm going to be putting that link down below. I've been using Paperlike for a long time and I'm super thankful that they're sponsoring this video. So if you want to go and check it out for the new iPad, and if you have an older iPad, you can go and check that out in the link below. So if you were to upgrade from the old iPad like I did, which was the 2nd generation, to the 3rd generation, will you see a difference? Well, a lot of you guys, if you're doing Procreate or drawing on different apps in there, you may not see too much of a difference. Sure, you would see like an actual speed improvement, things will seem slightly more responsive, and you've future-proofed yourself, but is it worth the price tag of exchanging it or getting a new iPad? For me, in my job, it is. I think having an iPad Pro has changed the way that I do design, and the reason why is because of the quick turnarounds. No longer do I need Photoshop powered up on my PC. No longer do I need to draw something and scan it in and lose the drawing. Nowadays, I can do most of the things directly on the iPad. You can literally draw it in and save the image. You can do Instagram posts. I do a lot of my logo type designs and logo design ideas and drafting and drawing on the iPad Pro because it's just so much more simple to do it that way than to do it in paper. And the last thing I just really wanted to talk about is the graphics. Now, Apple have said that it rivals the graphics of an Xbox One, which I think is pretty insane that we can get that amount of graphic power. Now, I'm saying this because in my job, I do graphic design. It doesn't generally mean, rendering and graphics, but what this does mean for anyone in the creative community in game design or app development, that the iPad Pro now offers you stunning graphics to a new level. This means that creative apps that are coming to the App Store in the next year or so are going to be insane. And I think people are going to innovate really well with this. New games will come out, but not only that, more apps like Photoshop with that power inside of it. More apps like Premiere Pro Rush will come out, which will enable you to edit even more. So do I say get the iPad Pro? Well, if you're in the hand lettering business and you're making money from hand lettering or design, or you've just got some more money to spend and you don't mind breaking the bank a little bit just to get the new iPad Pro and to future-proof yourself, then do it. But if you're someone with the last year's model, I wouldn't. If you've got the first year's model iPad Pro, I would seriously suggest to upgrade now, because this is probably going to be a major step improvement with a new 120Hz display and everything else. But guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Have you got the new iPad Pro? Do you like the iPad Pro? Which model do you have? And did you like this video? For more videos like this, please press that red subscribe button down below and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a video like this. And also remember to check out the sponsor of this video, Paperlike. Thanks guys, see you soon. Goodbye.